According to the ideas and the theory of karma, our actions have consequences, and in the case of reincarnation, if you were a good person, you did many virtuous things, you will be reborn. Let's assume that you're reborn again as a human. Then if you did many beautiful things and you did many generous things and you helped people in general you did many good actions, you'll be reborn as a beautiful person, as a healthy person, as a strong person, and as a wealthy person. So the inverse of that is a person who is born with disease, tendency to um, weakness, um, maybe has some disability, not considered beautiful by society, or has some deformity of one type or another. And so some people will use the misfortune, or not the misfortune, some people will justify their own bad behavior and mistreatment of others, the less fortunate ones, the less beautiful ones, on the grounds that they are bad people. The less fortunate ones, the poor people, the less beautiful people, the less attractive people are so because of their bad deeds in the past life, and so because the idea that they have what they deserve. So basically, there's this assumption sometimes made that the people who are ugly are evil. Of course, this is not true. The mistake that is being made with regards to the theory of reincarnation or karma is that karma isn't always linear. So while a person may have done something wrong in the previous life at another time, doesn't mean that they're evil currently. Or even in the previous life, the present condition of, let's say, disability could be caused by something many lifetimes ago. It could just be the immediately preceding life, or it could be many lifetimes ago. And we can see an example of this sort of karma, like linear karma versus nonlinear karma, in every day. So, for example, a person goes to sleep. One day you're upset, you say some mean things to somebody, and the next morning you're no longer upset and you're completely fine, but that other person is still upset at you. So that's an example of causality or karma that carries over. So you're not evil at that moment of the next morning. Evil is in that mindset that you expressed when you were upset the night before. That's the problem. Now you're facing the consequences of your expressed unwholesome state of mind yesterday, and today you have to deal with the person who you insulted. Another, maybe a little bit more extreme example of this is, let's say one day you're in a bad mood, you get into a fight, and the result is that you get a scar on your body. Like you get an injury, maybe a cut of some sort, but it's no huge deal. You're fine. The next morning, you're not even upset or anything. Everything is fine. But obviously, you have an injury, and you take care of the injury. It heals. You're no longer upset. Everything's fine, and you live life. So, objectively speaking, during that time when you got in a fight and you got the injury, you were an evil person at that moment. You were expressing unwholesomeness. You were expressing evil. The next morning, you weren't evil. The next morning, you were a good person. You were expressing positive energy. Like our karma and our conditions aren't always linear in the sense that, oh, an evil person always does evil deeds and karma follows in a linear fashion. So so let's continue with this example that the person got in a fight, got a scar or an injury, the next morning was totally fine, then lived life for, let's say, 10, 15 years, everything's fine, never got into much trouble or even any fight or any scars, but then later on, it was time for some business meeting, and the other person that you were doing trying to come to some agreement with just doesn't like you because of your scar. They look at your scar and they don't like it for whatever reason. Something that happened 10, 15 years ago. They don't know why, but they don't like it. And as a result, the deal falls through and they have this bad feeling in their gut. You have this bad feeling in your gut, and you leave home in a bad mood and just feel like crap. So here's this gap of 10 years, which has a direct correlation to something that happened way in the past. So you did something unwholesome 10 years ago, and now 10 years later, again, it is coming back. You thought that the karma was over, but it's not over. It got fixed in this form of a scar, and then it triggered something else in someone else, and then it also triggered this unfortunate situation. And now again, you're feeling upset. You're feeling negative. That's an example of nonlinear karma. So this serves as an illustration about the person who, maybe, let's say right now they're in a disadvantageous condition, maybe a disabled person or with some disability, um, or a handicap, or not beautiful person. But that doesn't mean that they're evil. It means that maybe at some time in the past they did something wrong, and it's like the scar. The person with the scar doesn't have to have an evil mind. You have a scar, you have the consequences of that physical scar, but your mind can be very wholesome. You can express many positive things. So, and vice versa. You can be a very beautiful person, and you could have a very unwholesome, very evil mind. What counts is what you express and what you per, um, perpetuate. So if you dwell on unwholesome things, if you perpetuate them, you keep them going, you keep their momentum, the energy behind them, the force behind them, then it will continue to happen, and the consequences will continue to roll over to the future. This is an example of linear causality versus nonlinear causality with gaps in between. This is helpful when considering ourselves and maybe what has contributed to our current condition, as well as others. Don't be quick to judge. Just because somebody is in an unfortunate situation now doesn't mean that they are a bad person. And just because somebody is in a fortunate situation, maybe someone is very rich, doesn't mean that they're good. It means that they done something right potentially in the past, but are they doing something right now? That's what will determine their future. In Buddhism, there's an analogy, an illustration. The Buddha says there are four kinds of people: those who are going from light to light, those who are going from light to darkness, those who are going from darkness to light, and those who are going from darkness to darkness. And this can be, this is like an illustration, A person who is from light to light is like a fortunate person doing good deeds, is going towards more fortune, more positive circumstances. A person who has fortunate circumstances but is doing bad deeds is going towards darkness. So it's like from light to dark. So a person who is going from darkness to light is a person who is unfortunate but doing good things, good deeds, has a positive mindset, wholesome mindset, is going towards the light. And from darkness to darkness, person who is unfortunate and keeps dwelling on that misfortune, has a negative mindset, has a doing negative, unwholesome actions, and they're going towards the darkness, perpetuating that darkness. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you find it interesting. Share with me your thoughts. Let's engage in a conversation, discussion. These are sometimes sensitive topics, I understand, but I believe they're important. So I look forward to your comments, responses, and look forward to the next video. Talk to you later, guys. Goodbye.